Pretty cool. This is the bedside for Carrie. This is Carrie. Mario shaped this. I don't know if you guys remember on one of the update episodes. Ooh, this thing's dirty. Joey loves when I wipe the lens with my shirt. Mario shaped these out of clay, and then we had Fiberworks process these. Jason and his team did a pretty good job. Little bit of an inconsistency on some areas, which is weird because they were done on the computer. But regardless, what we're working on here is, when this goes, the fiberglass panel goes up on here, there's this opening for like shock cooling or just some kind of venting. That is this opening. What we need to do is we need to plug stainless woven mesh into this opening. The things that require solutions are going to be how we're going to fasten it, but really primarily how we're going to shape this. If this is asking for this very subtle arch or curve, and then you have this compound curve here, already getting a piece of mesh to do that and then to roll, because this wants a roll and it also wants a greater radius here and a tighter radius here, almost like a cone where it spans out. That is going to require some kind of solution or problem solving. The secondary thing is mounting, right? So, if we have this panel going across, we also have to have it break over, and we also have to have it break over here so we can get hardware to fasten it. I don't think we need upper hardware, but at least 1 and 2 rows of hardware. What's up? Hi, Hinker. Oh, hi, you. Sneaker. So first order of business is probably going to be template work. Just see what a template can do. I think this needs a trim. We're going to have this subtle arch here or curve, and then we have this big compound thing. And I think the best thing to do is to make a cut here that matches what this is, so then at least we get one consistent plane. It does need to roll over here, so we probably still have to capture it just so it holds its place. But it's going to be hard to get so many of those, and there's probably going to be some ugly cuts back here. A lot of times with the mesh, at least for these kind of projects, there's a good side and a bad side, meaning the visual focal point side is the clean side that you see with the mesh. The other side is the dirty work of just how it's bolted to the panel. There's definitely clean ways to do it, and especially if it's a panel, something that opens where you oftentimes see the backside of the mesh, I'd for sure figure out a frame or something that goes around it. But you have to understand the time you're making just for the frame. And if it makes sense, for sure, but you got to make it make sense. And for something like this, we know this is a dedicated pre-runner. There's going to be tons of damage going into these things from the inside, from rock, all the gravel splash, everything. So really just having this meat and potatoes bolted in, secured, and clean on the outside is probably all the win we're going to need. I don't know exactly how to, I wish I had the meta glasses, but they don't store enough time for this long ass duration that we do. Because I wish I had this bird's eye view, and I'm almost thinking I have to have a GoPro strapped to my head, and it is what it is. I almost don't care, because to get the perspective of this stuff, I feel like it's, even right now, you're upside down to an extent. No, you're upside down. Right now, I'm going to get a piece of template paper in there. Looking like I need about 1.5 inches of flange here to fasten to. So I'm just going to start with that. This is a Sloppy Joe piece of template paper, just a burner piece. So I'm not going for anything final or, super technically accurate, just enough to, I'm just getting data. That's all I'm looking for here. And that's usually the case with anything, is it's all a battle for information. This is woven mesh. So it's dense. It's, 1/16 thick rod, stainless rod, that's interwoven. And that makes it pretty hard to shape. If you guys watched that, fuel fill thing for the Bronco, We definitely shaped a small piece of that. Cut this thing to size. Oh, probably that and that. Maybe bird's eye over my shoulder view. If we're working right here, it's almost there. I'm left-handed, so keep you guys on the right side. That kind of works. You're not able to see this part though. All right, so what I did is just a really rudimentary handbrake. I'm looking for that return edge, finding what's going to sit there easily without too much defaulting from the shape. This feels right on the template paper, but I know what's going to happen here. This is classic template paper. Template paper gives you a partial truth, especially when you're working with rigid material like a stainless woven mesh. But it's giving me enough information. The one thing I want to try to do, there's a break here on this top part that's not just a break, it's a tip, right? So it's not a straight piece. And the chipboard allowed me to do that by just kind of running through it with my hands. To do this with stainless is going to require a little more than just this. There's going to have to be some reliefs, but I also want to try to run the chipboard through the tipping die on the bead roller, which is probably going to ruin my die. So that's going to turn into a consumable. To get these, I think you put them, you just treat it like it's a 16th inch thick piece of material that's not woven mesh. And if I can get a good layout, I can put it through the bead roller. I think that's how we're going to establish a win with this thing. So you guys can see what's going on here, right? Just a lot of different things. This, we made this shape specifically to like what that style of cutout would want versus, what mesh would want to do. And mesh was kind of Jeff's thing to add later. But it just adds a challenge. Doesn't mean it's not going to work. I like this idea. I think if we cut it parallel, it loses the dimensional, twisted feel that it has here. And I'm going to start doing it the hard way here as far as it being visually the best and go from there. So it's just going to be getting a template that works, but I'm close to that. I'm just going to trim this up. I do want to have some ears here, so we can roll all this by hand, let's say. All that area. We know we're going to bolt down into these areas. Top and the bottom here, or the outside and the inside. And then we hand roll. To fill this, we hand roll. But just how tight that happens is going to be the thing, like where it's fitting and it's not gapped. And then same here, I'm going to have to come through and try to get a little bit of roll off this, and then just try to capture right here. Try to capture one right here. Initial concerns with this are going to be gaps when I put the form in, where I cannot close out the material or the mesh material to the shape of the bedside. There's some pretty weird stuff going on here. So what this is adjusting the cone roll there where this is the tight spot. This is the bigger spot. This will happen down here too. But like, see that little breakthrough? That you can't have. There has to be mesh covering everything from the other side. So when I get this out, I feel pretty comfortable with these lines being the tip lines. I think the first thing to do is to establish this one so I can at least put the panel in here, have it go to this surface return, have it kick back up, and then I'll let this thing freestyle here, and I'll probably be able to go in and mark it again. I'll put a piece of tape on the mesh and mark it. What I'd like to do right now is I want to take this template off. I got a 1/4 inch indicator here, which is missing the positive. That I always do as an add. If I want to do subtract, then I obviously just do 1 slash through there horizontally. But I think we have enough here. Let's do another note here to add a 1/2 inch on that portion. So that goes over, because that's cutting it a little close under here. So this should be enough where I can expand this, take it, the shape out of it, flatten it, and put it onto the mesh and transfer. So let's go get set up somewhere else to do the cutting work on this thing. All right. One thing with the bedsides or any fiberglass stuff that I've experienced is they're never consistent. Even if they machine this stuff out of foam on a 5-axis, somehow stuff is still different. So with this, I cannot trust this template to transfer to the other side. And I don't necessarily need to. I'll use it as a reference, but since we're not too many steps in on this thing, right? It's pretty much just get a template, shape the template, make it fit, bolt it on. Those are the steps. So really, you know, this is a big footprint to be working with where I'm not going to need to do both simultaneously. I will get this cut, I'll form it, we'll bolt it in, we'll call this one done, and then we'll move to the second one. We'll already have a bearing on what we need to do, and it should be a little more streamlined. So as long as the tipping die thing works, where we can tip this and put a curved break essentially into the mesh, we're going to get a win. I just don't know exactly how that's going to go. In my bird brain here, it says it'll work. So let's get over to the big table and make a mess cutting this stuff up, and then get some layout done so we can start putting this into the bead roller. I'm willing to compromise the die, at least the lower portion that's Delrin, as a consumable, and I'll just get another one as soon as we get through these 2 parts. I wish I could fit, ooh, you know what? I can probably fit 2 on here. Because if we don't, we're dealing with a big old 4x8 sheet. Yeah. If we play our cards right, we're gonna get 2 on here, no problem. Oh! But the mesh needs to be aligned, and that's more important. So one thing that's important for me is I like to line up the mesh. I like to go off the grid pattern, you know, X, Y. Unless you're specifically doing it diagonal, then it really is important. So what I'm gonna use is, I'm gonna use this line as kind of our general to make sure we're on point with the lineup. And I think, really, we're gonna get 2 out of this. Clamp this bastard down. Yahtzee. We'll hang off over here. All right. So usually I just do a pretty normal cut through here. What's going to have to happen is these are going to be a little more detailed. So I'll probably take the tape. I'm going to run some tape underneath, and then I'm going to trace it, because I don't know if I'm going to get something really accurate off this. Plus I need to take some new notes. So I know these areas wanted extra stuff. Yeah, now we can just get the rest. The rest is pretty brief. But what I am going to grab is the battle axe. I have my respirator over here. And then a cutoff, just a normal 4.5-inch cutoff wheel. I'll do all the meat and potato heavy lifting with the cutoff wheel, and then I'm going to come in with my battle axe and fine tune everything. So I'll do all of the big stuff with my normal cutoff wheel. You know, these kind of rips, this rip, and then probably with the battle axe, which is the pneumatic cutoff wheel, I'll go in and just get the details that I need to, you know, and we'll go from there. Like I said, the first thing we're going to want to do is put shape into this guy, and it does have a little hook here, but we'll try that first and just see what we get, and then it's going to be hand form and hopes and prayers. We're gonna have to cut this thing apart. We're gonna have to cut this thing apart to get the tip laid out. What I mean by that is, let me get off the wood. So here's my big ugly template. Right. Rounding the edges, stuff like that, all in a secondary detail that doesn't need to happen right now. Right now, the most important thing is to get fitment going on that bedside. Getting that shape to start to come out here is going to be the next move. So really following this curve drop, you know, it's pretty much straight here, and then it curves drop through here. Curves drop. I don't think that's right, but fuck it. Anyways, transitions here. To get this laid out, the best thing to do is I probably need to cut this piece, and then I'll tape under here. And, you know, since I'm going to be tipping on this side, meaning I'm going to put the die in here and it's going to crack this edge up and crack this way, you know, we're going to make a V essentially. So I'm just going to cut this. I'll tape the actual mesh itself, and then I'll use this as a template to lay there, transfer the line onto the tape. And then once we get this fit in the car and we know where this wants to be, I'll probably put tape on the back side of this, and I'll put it in the car, and then I'm going to mark it exactly where it wants to be on the bedside, bring it back, and then we're going to do the same thing here and crack this way. In theory, you know, I don't know if this is going to work. With handling stuff like this, again, I don't know if you guys realize that I try to favor using, you know, hand protection at all times, and it's not because I'm scared to get hurt or something. What it is I'm just trying to preserve my hands so I can continue to work effectively. Anytime there's something where I'm injured, it's just hurting me being effective with what I'm trying to execute. So if I don't have to, I don't. But what I was getting at is, even handling this, you're going to want to put on just a simple fab or layout glove. I always cut with these. Do I need to cut with these? Do I often get cut by the grinder? No. But the times that I do, it sucks. It's the same, right? It's the same deal. When I see people, and again, do things how you want to do them, but when I see people grinding something and squinting with no safety glasses, just think about it in an effective way of how much focus and how much different energy are you putting into squinting and making sure that you don't get something in your eyes, and how good and precise is your cut going to be, and how quality is that going to be if you don't even want to spend time doing the cut because you're too worried about just get through it, just squint, and then your focus is literally diluted by just having to protect yourself instead of just doing something where you can stare at it and not worry about it. So, just the little things. And I'm not mad. I'm fine. Everything's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. And you know why I say all that shit? Because I've spent too many times. It used to be once a year. It happened a couple times a year, then it'd be once a year. I would get something in my eye, you know, epically, where I couldn't get it out. It would rust. You go to the eye doctor, and then they sit there and they fucking take that crazy Terminator looking tool, and they like sand the rust out of your eyeball, and then you have to have steroid shots or steroid things, drops that go into your eye. Not into it. Just not into it. All right, check it out. That's the curve, right? It's rudimentary, but it's enough layout here. I'm gonna push it a little. That's gonna be something I'm gonna just literally rip right with the bead roll. And I think what else is gonna suck is getting the tape off with the bead roller. But it is what it is. I should be able to get a nice, decent crack on this thing. Oh, that's gonna be rough. Gonna be rough. So this looks like it may work, but it is doing some compression at the same time. So we got something there. I'm gonna charge my mic. I'm talking loud because I don't think it's hitting, it's dead. It's a little sloppy on this guy. I can get some of this out. If I treat this like just a sheet metal piece. So once it gets cracked in this, it's actually pretty easy to make malleable, you know. It's pretty malleable. How about that? Sometimes my fucking vocabulary sucks. I'm gonna get this in the car. I don't know if I have too much, but I don't want to go any further until we get a proof of concept. Oh, there's gonna be some benefits to this. Already moving it around. No? I hope I didn't undercut it right now, but it's feeling like we're gonna find success here. Right now, I see an issue here. This looks like we're going to Gap Town. I think I can relieve that. But man, it looks close. I'm gonna see what wiggle room I can get out of this. Because my fear is we're gonna do this right here. We're gonna wrap around with that. Worst case scenario, we're gonna make a new one. And this was a learning lesson. But we're like damn close to getting a win on this thing already. So, cool. We saved it. I adjusted some of this shape down here, so we're right on the brink of dangerous, but we're also right there to take a win. So I got one cleco holding this thing in. I think I'm going to fasten a couple more onto these bottom areas, and then I'm going to fasten this side over here. That's going to give us a really good bearing to take a template off of this area. Might as well put tape on that area while we're at it. One of the things I'm going to do right now is just get the outside mounting locations in here. I can't do it from the backside because I'm not going to get a visual bearing on what they look like on the outside. So even though it might seem fitting to drill from the inside, it's not going to be cohesive to getting the design and the layout proper. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to build on this plane. This does tighten towards the end. Meaning this is wider and this gets tighter. So what I do is just do a rough measurement on the width, call it 2, go down here, call that 1.5, split the difference, run a center line. That's down the middle of, you know, this guy and this guy, because that edge is where it starts to fall over. So now I know, you know, also under here where the mesh ends. So I don't want to be way up high, but what I'll start is just I'll start one down from here a certain amount, and then I'll start one going up from a certain amount, and then I'll do the math to get even spacing throughout. So that's roughly where the shape starts to change. 1.5. Quick chomp at my gum. Probably 1/2 inch here. Now we think, how many pieces, how many locations do we want? This, and this. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 locations. Yep. Mic is charging, so bear with me here. We're looking at a 15. 15 split into 4 sections. Feet and inches calculator. 3 3/4. So I use this, you guys. It's the feet and inches calculator. It makes fractions really easy. I'm probably not the most smartest person for this, so like I just do 15 divided by 4. Hold on, clear this thing all the way. So 15 inches divided by 4 equals, okay, you're not my stupid thumbs. Let's try this again. 15 divided by 4 equals 3 3/4. So now these, you know, I did these rough segmented lines just to get a bearing on what I knew I'd want for spacing, but it's not accurate. So now what I can do is I can just come in here, hit it with the blue. 3 3/4, 3 3/4, 3 3/4, verify, 3 3/4. All right. So now we have all of our pickups. We're gonna drill 1/8 inch for the clecos right now. That's pretty thick stuff right there. Ah! All right. Watch out, son, I gotta flip this over. So we're all set up?
And honey, with the saddle.
You're doing perfect, man.
Yes.
Oh, one of the holes just a little too high. We're gonna have to re-drill. Fortunately, it's fiberglass. We can just fill that in, but we're 1/2 inch off. Cool part is, I think all of this is gonna work out great, which is awesome.
I look at different guys who have these books on a camera knows that.
Yeah. And then I need one more of these. Can you grab me one of these things right on the table?
Oh yeah.
So Enzo is helping right now because Mom is doing some computer work for us. So we are on baby duty. And Enzo is quite the helper, and he's also my little hanger outer. He loves to come in the shop. You know, Logan is our older boy, and he's just on his path. You know, he's 12, but he's not as interested in the shop life.
Hey.
Yes. Hey, stop! You gotta stop. You can only pull so much of that. He's not as interested, but Enzo is my one that comes in here and really comes to hang out and spend time. So I forgot to put tape in. So I'm gonna do a line here. Maybe if I can get the tape to line up on that. Let's figure out how I'm gonna do this. This is gonna do it too, actually. Because I can just follow it from the back side. Oh, the tipping die is gonna be crossing a lot of different seeds on this one. That's our hole. I can show you. Right there. If we just had that much more mesh, we'd be good. I'm gonna have to shore one of these up. The rest of this is worked out. Just simple rudimentary stuff. I just didn't know if it was gonna work well with the mesh. But it's doing more than I thought. This is gonna be the toughest one. The other thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna relieve a lot of this, where I'm gonna just leave half of that. So when it does want to fold in, it's not as, you know, rigid, stressed out. I'm excited about that. We actually have the curve, which is sick. You can see the gap, but look at, once we close this bastard in, I think it's gonna rip. So pretty solid. Remember, the only bummer is we're gonna have to adjust the hole, and if I wanted to, it's probably gonna have to be a 1/2 inch, and I might even just shore up this one. Man, it's like, do you shore them all up to get the equal spacing? And the answer is yes, so probably gonna have to do that. So anyways, come back to that. Yeah, I'm just looking at solutions. I'm just looking at solutions based on if I wanted to, like, you know, lose a location and widen it and just do, you know, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just do 4 locations in different spots. And it might honestly be the answer. So it is what it is on the holes. You know, we've already made several here that look like oil stains, but those are all holes. New locations. So instead of 5 locations, there's 4. Everything is still sound and rigid, but I got the spacing proper, so everything is consistent. Just do a little one of these guys so we know. That will just play into like being a button head stainless piece of hardware. I got one in a nice tasteful spot right here, kind of splitting this. Same deal up here. Sick roll right here. You know, that's the only thing we want to get tight, because that's where we can see a little bit of the edge leaving. So once that's, you know, if I can tap that in, we're going to be in a good spot, but it's just like danger close. So, you know, you see it like this, but no matter what, it's the details that matter. What? I'm going from the back side. I'm going to hit this. I can see the blue line, but I can also see the green line. So I'm going to see what we get. Shoot the moon. The first line on this thing is going to be the most important. See, we're going to be skipping lanes on this thing to get that curve. And it's very important that when it asks to skip lanes, you say yes. You seen that bullshit going around right now? Blah, blah, blah. It's going to ask you when you're 20, and it's very important that you say yes, that you take that ride. Right on. Go trending. I guess it worked, right? Small adjustment. I got to kind of finagle it just to get in there first. Really, this is just a start the party, and then whatever we have to do to get it to shape into our area is fine. This thing's just rogue going, you know, it's like going over 2-track over and over. I gotta not do this when I have gum in my mouth, because I chew like a like a chola in high school, fool. You know what I'm saying? It's getting easier to do. I like it. And then the other thing is, like, at what point can I just kind of get this thing and tap it over with a hammer and a dolly? Like, we already cracked bend and everything we wanted. You just don't want to do it too aggressively because it starts to make a weird valley in there, like a, you know, a form that is not optimal. You mean a shape, dude? You're metal shaping it, dude. Not forming. All right. Sounds like I'm hungry or something. Well, that sarcasm turns a little bit condescending. I think we can party on this. Let's talk about hole locations. Just to highlight these for you guys. Four locations. What I like to do here is visually find symmetry. What does that mean? I want to get these drawn across in a way that looks fitting to what's here versus having them equal, you know, like this far off and that far off and this far off. I want them to look like a parallel reed. And I like to put design and stuff like that. Dude, he understands the two-stroke like good. Super just snappy sketch writing. Where are we gonna see the visual on that? You hear that noise? Logan's on a 100 now. KX 100, two-stroke. Pretty sick upgrade from a KLX 110L. Hey, no growling, figure it out. But he understands the squirreliness already, like you can hear his rips are solid. Oh, I just blew my knee on the corner. It was almost healed. Just looking at where our holes are here, our drill holes, because I'm gonna wanna trim all the fat off of the mesh here. I'm gonna wanna trim it down here. I'll take some notes And then what I'll do is I'll take this off, I'll trim it, I'll radius the edges on whatever's kind of crude looking, like this guy, I guess is a little radiused. Get all the crude stuff out of here, get it Clecoed back in, and then we'll transfer over to the other side, the other bedside, which would be the driver. Do the same thing, and then once everything is right at a point where we're ready to drill, drill the holes larger and put proper hardware in, then we'll jump and we'll do these together at the same time. Pretty solid here. So the tape is just a simple indicator that's showing me where to cut. I can't, if I use a pin on here, it's not really potent and it's not accurate enough when I take this off to see it while I'm doing heavy cutting. The tape is a great guideline for me to trim off and then, round wherever I can on the corners or something. This gets us pretty good to where we're at. There's a little bit of work I want to do to hit this in once we close this. But really, this gets us to a point. We'll take it off, trim the fat off this thing, and then start with the other side, get a template on there, and just see if our pre-existing template is anywhere close. Pretty clean. Got a lot of shape out of that. That expanded our capabilities with woven mesh. Discrepancy, I don't like how close that is to the edge. Could it have been better? Yeah. Does it need to be right now? No, I think it still passes technical inspection. Something to note for the next time for sure. Got what we wanted out of this thing. One thing I do need to do per request from Jeff is weld all this instead of rivet it. So, within the next day, we're gonna put the bedsides on. I can kind of hang one, I think. It's time to do that second one. So I'll set this on the ground. Essentially this guy rips right here. You guys see that kind of? Oh my gosh, it wants to stay. What if this falls right now? Cool. Ooh, okay. That rips. All right, so that was a good addition. Good job, Jeff. That's what's up. Let's get the second one going. We should be able to wrap these right now, put the hardware in there, and we'll be dialed. Things that I do know. All the mounting locations here are stuff we can transfer right now because we know we want that to be consistent on the exterior no matter what. So right now I'm gonna get some tape going, get all of our perimeters laid out on our new piece, drilled, and then we're gonna go back, we'll flip this thing upside down. We're done with that one. We'll stash that one somewhere else, and then we'll get the template verified on this one to see if we actually need to make a new template or just revise what we have. Probably just revise what we have. A little afraid these are gonna fall over. Just gonna act fast if they do. I think I can save them. Quick little dot matrix on here to establish start points. All right, 1 inch in everywhere, 1 1/8 from the bottom, 2 inch from the top. So 2 inch, 1 1/8, 1 inch spread on these guys. All right, what was our spread? 5 inch. 5 1/4, 4. So that does reverse pattern, right? So 4, 5 1/4. Verify that, brain skipped. 5 1/4. Verify if that's 5 inches. Damn close. And then 1 inch off that. All right. Where does the radius fall short? Well, we can just start from the top one. So we're first off, we are 1 inch in on the seam. But we did centers on this stuff, so we got to lay that out accordingly. So 1 inch, 1.5 inches, that was 3/4. Okay, that's our seam. Two inch. And then we go 4 3/4, 4 3/4, 4 3/4, all consistent. So you at least get some time saver stuff going on your second one because you already know the layout, so you can just transfer some of that. Same with the template. We're gonna get something good with the template. If it lands right, it might just be consistent. We are missing the other holes, top and bottom. Don't really need this tape here, but I think we're already in the budget of it. Love to have a deal with 3M. But these are all in due time. Part of it right now is just making things work. You know, figured out how to build cars pretty well, but it's really just about running the business now. Making things fluid, getting shit done. Weeding out the stuff that doesn't make sense, which is my current situation. Okay, so 3/4, a little bit of a different shape there that I'm noticing. So I'm gonna put that piece right there because that's subject to a different shape. Other than that, we're good. I just love my pin cap. Thank you. Whoa. All right, we got what we need. I don't see the sizers. Oh, they're over at the table. Okay. Let's go grab that template. Thing's a little floppy dick on the table, but whatever. Okay, opposite day. Feeling decent. It's close. It's a little off, but nothing crazy. I think a little bit of nip tuck on this and we're going to be in a good spot. So that's pretty healthy. Yeah, this is decent, actually. This part sucks right here, but that's the one that already had the notes from before. So I'd say new notes on this side. Just do a 3/4 addition. Do an 1/8 just because this is where we were coming up close the other time. And then all the rest of this chingaderas looks okay. flip this template. Kind of get a bearing on what that's going to look like for us. Make an indicator. Yep, that's rickety, and I believe in it. So I'm going to go transfer this onto our mesh and hit this thing. We've made it through this portion of the project. No mistakes. That sucks, because I'd rather get my mistake over with. Remember the fuel fillers? The breather tubes for the air pumper? That was pretty cool. Last minute, cut the tube off, redo it, and then we're just gonna cut one, and then you cut two off. It's like a humble pie thing. All right, so in theory, we should be able to, we know we're not building on this side. That's where error one can happen. So if I'm thinking about this from the other side, we want to take the flange off. That's going to be our first layout, because we know that's going to be the shape change, the first one we do. Cool. Notes are solid. I'm going to run this back and just make sure what I'm doing is right, because anytime I have just any kind of doubt, I tell you, it can be the means to an end. Okay, so we definitely want it on this side, so I'm gonna just put an indicator on here. This is top. That gives us a green light. Cool. So that does verify that we're going to be on this side. Now we can go party on the bead roll machine. Oh yeah, you need a major tin work. Which is fine. Remarkably better to work with than I thought. There's the corner of death. All right. Man, the exercise on doing this the first time has really expedited the process now. I'm gonna pin this one. I think I'm gonna need to flip the whole bedside because I'm working in a weird little corner here. What do you guys think about keeping the green on the Bronco? It's kind of been my thought to Jeff. Like Jeff wants to do something wild, and I know he's thinking about the green, but I like the green just the way it is. It's like a cool metallic olive. Yeah, so I'm gonna go grab some Clecos. We're gonna be able to just see the same capture. We already have our holes in here, and then essentially we're just gonna lay this out, tip it back over, trim it, and then bolt everything up. You know what guy uses this stuff? Except he uses the real thin shitty stuff. The Porsche guy. Which I'm not even mad at that guy's style. I know he's been like scrutinized for his craftsmanship or whatever, but I think his expression of car is beautiful. But the guy, you know, the guy that used all the caulking and stuff to seal up the fender lines and all that. I forget his name, and I'm not going to dare pronounce something like that. But I know he uses mesh, and then he like forms it all crazy. No, that's definitely not this mesh, because this mesh is extremely rigid. And we're using fasteners that are not body tech screws. So got the hit again. Check her out. This one's really nicely seated. Rolled nice. Made the gap higher. We're not missing there. Rolled around here. Cleaned that up. Hardware's already done. We're in like a 30-minute mark right now for this guy. So there's a little extra on here, but that's cool. I think I'm gonna relieve that like to a little cut, and then I'm gonna put the tape on here from the backside to show us where we want to be to tip all this down. Little whiskey throttle, dude. I think we put a little too much input in right off the bat. Good part is we got a lot of really easy shaping that can come from just hitting this stuff out with a sheet metal hammer. You gotta cross the railroad tracks right here. I used to do that going into Pomona from Laverne all the time. Let's see. But there wasn't any like valuable comparison like you were going to go to the hood or something. I mean, you'd still have to go for a while before Pomona turned super hood. Laverne is where I grew up in California. And I had a really good childhood there. I mostly just rode BMX bikes and dug BMX trails. That was like my whole life when I was younger. There was no cell phones. So we were just, and it was safe. Come in when the street lights go on. Take fucking showers in the pool during the summer, covered in dirt. And then it turned into riding dirt bikes. Now I was like high school when I started riding dirt bikes. And then I almost didn't make it through high school. I ditched school multiple days a week to go ride, like with Blake Thorpe. go ride Beaumont Hills. And then I got in a couple fights and I got expelled a couple times. I didn't do drugs or drink at that point. I was just a out of control little bro kid that fought people and rode dirt bikes. And then I got sent away to emotional growth boarding school. I went to a wilderness boot camp first in the woods of North Idaho. Got taken out from my house around 3 in the morning by some strange people. My mom set it up for them to take me, and I was gone for a year and a half. They made a Netflix movie on it. I got to hit this stuff out. But look we got our shape pretty good. It's hard to tell, but it like does this. You can see it, I think, where it has this like line where it wrinkles over extra. And it's just going into the groove of the die. Not even tripping on it. We're going to be able to hit this out super easy. What are we going to whack this thing on, dude? Probably just the table. Where's my whacking device? I think we're still in good standing. Oh, yeah. Kind of just already falls into there. So it's always a good sign. I'm not a stranger to tweaking something in place with some hardware, but this works out well. I'm probably just gonna crack some bend into here just because it's a little elevated, and I can just do that manually. Cleco everything, same thing. Do a little rundown with tape to trim all the fat off, and then we're probably gonna be in a really great spot to just final these out with some hardware. Just want to pull the tape off to see what the truth is on the seams. A little blind on those areas. I'm going through a super challenging time in my life right now. And it's been going on for about 4 months, and I feel like what it is all the mistakes I've made and, lessons I've had to learn. It's all like a cleansing to get to the new chapter of my life, and anybody and everybody and clients and whatever's came from my wake of just learning how to like run a business and the growth of the business is rearing its head on me. And it's been so painful, and I'm doing everything I can to make everything right with anybody and everybody. But what bums me out is there's people that are taking this as an opportunity to get more than what they deserve, and to either take peace from life to hurt myself, my business, my family, or to make issues that aren't even there, and on top of that, it's this thing that's been painted like I've hurt so many people and caused all this disruption, but I've given these windows for anybody and everything for me to resolve them, and nobody has reached out, and nobody said anything, and it just feels malicious, and it's taken everything in my power to just keep moving forward, because it makes me question everything. It makes me question my life. It makes me question my position, my career, being a father, being a partner. It's a huge transitionary point in my life, and I think part of it is just to like I said, a cleansing, you know, like God or the universe just giving me this opportunity where to get to the next stage, I need to like make right with anything and everything. And I'm good on that. But the malicious stuff is what sucks. Where it's just like, dude, this isn't to help anybody, including yourself or myself. It's literally to hurt, to cause hurt and pain. And that's the stuff that I don't forgive, you know. Navigating through that stuff has been tough. And, you know, it's not part of my life to give up. I don't do that shit, you know. I went through years of struggling with alcohol and substance abuse, and I conquered that, and I never thought I could. Just for the life of me, I thought I was ruined. I couldn't figure out why I would keep doing these things and break these promises and commitments to myself, and holy shit, I finally conquered it and I got through it. And that's why, like, I look at this stuff, I'm like, this isn't shit. You know, whatever I got to do to get through it, let's just get through it so I can move on and be the best person I can in my life. That's all I want to do. I just want to be the best person I can be. Period. I don't want to hurt people. I don't want to fucking do any shit. I just want to be the best person I can be. And that's it. Whatever I need to do that, put me there in that path so I can do it. But don't fucking do malicious shit where you're just trying to hurt me. The fuck, man? We got really good fitment on this thing. I'm going to Cleco it in. And we're going to be solid. I came up over this thing, which I'm stoked on. Same with this. This is just right over this thing. You know, everything's clearing. So now that we know we can do this, I can do this with a lot more parts. I can put like some pretty complex shit and have a mesh opening, and I know it's going to work. Getting pretty low on battery here. Probably try to get a quick charge boosted in while I'm trimming this thing. I estimated 3.5 to 4 hours. I'm pretty close. I think five would be the ticket, but I'm gonna take care of Jeff. You know, there's also, you know, filming, right? We're setting up, we're getting this camera, toting this thing around with us, so that adds up. And I just want to stand on what I said, so that's what we're gonna do. I got some stuff I can form in here now that I look at it. Inanimate objects, homie. Win them or lose them. It's never a war. It's a harmony. And I don't look at fabrication as going to war with a piece of material. It's about working in harmony to get the end result. Yep, we're on. We are on. How are we gonna mess it up now? What's next? Where's my whole lot? Hopefully you don't say that too many times in your life. All right, nip tuck, nip tuck. A little RWB Porsche maneuvering. Except I'm also using a hammer, specifically for sheet metal. Radius, this trim is already pretty dialed. Nice trim in here, so this doesn't look hack. Radius here. Get all this crap out of here. We're ready for hardware. I'm gonna put you guys on the charger for a second, and I'll come back when we're gonna do hardware. Neat. Anyways, these are step bits. They're drill bits with a step on the end. They're the best. I am going to apply a larger diameter hole into these guys. I have all of my 1032, not 1024, because we don't have any more 1024 nuts right now. So I'm gonna use 32s. I have anti-seize because I do not fuck around with skipping anti-seize day on stainless hardware. I'm gonna drill all these out, I'm gonna plant them, and we're gonna be done. I like to use the step bits, especially with fiberglass, because it doesn't blow the top layer off. It goes in slower and it doesn't, you know, shear like all the fiberglass off. Like when you use a regular bit, sometimes it splinters and cracks all the shit off. So what I like to do for anti-seize, we're low on this one, but I can at least get a chunk out of here. So I get a chunk going. What's up, Logan? So I like to just do this with the anti-seize. Prep all the heads of this stuff. I just grab from the goop and then I set them in here. And I put a fold in this thing so they can't slide around. And then none of the heads actually touch the anti-seize, but everything is stacked right now. You know, because this stuff gets everywhere. But I got enough racked up right here. Racked up, drug term, huh? To get going on this thing. Got this guy. Where's my T-handle? Oh, I don't want a T-handle actually. That's gonna be an issue. Let me go get something different. That wasn't too bad. Well, that's our mesh cover in here. Like I said, it's crude to me, right? From the backside. I would love to see it trimmed up with a ring or something around it, but just triple your time. This is what you get on the inside. Now we can look at the outside. Got these holes to fill. Been doing quite a bit of that already, so I'm good with that. Solid result. What do we want to call this one? Mesh forming mesh ventilation panels, forming mesh, custom shaped mesh panel openings. I don't know. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Probably a quick one. See you later.